so very much. Can you hear me? Lovely. Thank you. Thank you very much, Samira. Before we start, I should explain. You might have noticed I was a bit slow on my feet there. Just over a year ago, I had terrible nerve pain in my left leg and went to get an MRI thinking that the pain was caused by a slipped or a swollen disc. And I got the results of that scanned back a few weeks later and was diagnosed with cancer. And at that point, I had no idea how much longer I had left to live. And I'm telling you this mainly just to get you on side, because I'm going to take the piss out of a few politicians now. So if I take the piss out of one you like, just remember, I've been very brave. The type of cancer I had, by the way, was very rare, a thing called a chordoma. Only 1 in a million people get them, so it was nice to be special. And it was on the base of my spine, part of the body called the sacrum, the big triangular bone that plugs the spine into the pelvis. And I had most of that bone carved out and removed. So now there's just a thin strip of bone plugging me all together in the middle. And that's why I'm a little bit slow on my feet, is because to cover the gap where the bone was, the surgeons at the end of my surgery pulled the muscles up from my buttocks and stitched them together to create a muscle flap to replicate the job that that bone did. So what I'm trying to say is, I've also had a bum lift. And you'll be able to admire that handiwork as I leave the stage. But yes, my body has changed a little bit. I'm obviously delighted to be alive, but the nerves to the bladder and bowel set on that bone. They were cut in order to get the bone out. So I now have a stoma and a colostomy bag, and that is for life. And at first I thought this was going to be heartbreaking. But I've started to see the positives. Now that I don't poo the old way, I've got a lot more spare time. Although I am reading less. So gives with one hand, doesn't wipe with the other. And the nerves to my bladder were cut as well. So I can now no longer feel the need to pee, and I can't push pee out. So in order to piss, I now perform something called intermittent self-catheterization. So yeah, it's about as fun as it sounds. I have these little catheters that are disposable. They're like a little hoop, and I unscrew one end, and I feed the end down the hole. Yeah, I mean, obviously mine's massive, so they need meters of the stuff. And I had to get the Crossrail boys to tunnel through mine. And I know when I've hit the bladder because pee comes out the other end. And again, it sounds awful. I rapidly got used to it. But it's true what they say. The personal is political. It's put me off fracking. I feel like I've got skin in the game now. But I'm so glad that I got to live to see the wonderful political times that we are now enjoying and the new special relationship that will have to be built between the new President of the United States, Donald Trump, and our relatively new Prime Minister, Keir Starmer. And it's interesting the reaction to Keir Starmer, even amongst Labour-supporting friends of mine. One of them said, well, you know, he's doing the right long-term things for the country, but he can't do the sexy stuff, can he? And you think, what's that even mean? I mean, if you had to do it with one of two politicians, would you pick the first guy who says, look, yes, I'm going to give you, by the way, yes, the greatest night of passion of your life, and you are going to erupt in paroxysms of passion and orgasm, and I've got an oven-ready thing, stick it in, and yes, I'm prepared to level you right up, yes. Or would you pick the guy that says, look, I'm not going to make any promises. Certainly not before I've had a good look at what I'm dealing with. But let me reassure you, it is my intention to satisfy you as fully as possible in the time available to me. You've got a fascinating voice, Keir Starmer. That sort of block-nosed, lockjaw, all the thoughts coming out in single staccato, little trumpet. Can't get it all out at the same time. He's got a number of nervous tells, Keir Starmer. One is that he will repeat himself needlessly at the end of sentences. Words that clearly aren't on the autocue or in the script. It's just a nervous little tick he's got. The Tories want to give a £46 billion tax cut to the most privileged. 46 billion. Yeah, I heard it a second ago when you growled it at me then. I mean, if anything, maybe it's a hangover from his legal days, where you verbally underline pertinent information to plant it in the minds of judges and jurors. They stole 46 bags of Haribo. 46. If you're on that jury, I think that would work. Yeah, 45 bags of Haribo, and I'd be tempted to let him off for a first offence, but 46 clearly crosses a threshold. There's one area where actually that sort of voice works for him. And it's when he talks about crime. That sort of lockjaw. He actually sounds like he's menacing when he talks about crime. When we had the riots over the summer, he sounded dangerous. Mark my words. Arrests will be made. Convictions will follow. You will regret taking part in this disorder. I thought he was going to go full vigilante. I tell you how we're going to sort this out, Beth. I'm going to go up to Sunderland in a transit van, tooled up. Because you may remember, my dad was a tool maker. Had to be done, of course. You can't talk about Keir Starmer without mentioning tools. But obviously, there's not just him. Labour's big strategy, and I'm sure, as well as talking about AI earlier today, you may have talked about Labour's plans to build a lot of stuff around the UK. Homes, 1.5 million council homes between now and 4 years' time. And of course, we all agree we need them. We need more homes in the national interest, just not near where I live. And that is why I'm delighted that the minister responsible for delivering them is Angela Rayner. If anyone can face down the NIMBYs, it is Angela Rayner. Right, the deal is, we build them, you fucking buy them, all right? Well, if you don't want to buy them, some other fucker will, mate. It's called the market. Who wants it? I find her amazing, and I love the fact she's our Deputy Prime Minister. When you think of the classism and the misogyny she's had to overcome to get there, and she's not Deputy Prime Minister of any old country. Angela Rayner is Deputy Prime Minister of a nuclear power. That means whenever Keir Starmer's not at work, Angela Rayner's finger is on the nuclear button. After 6 p.m. every day, Angela Rayner's finger is on the nuclear button. That's not going to always go smoothly. Keir, I think I fucked up. Well, look, I got pissed up and prank called the Kremlin. Well, look, they've launched their nukes now, so I say we launch a couple of ours and take some of them fuckers out on the way out.
Good morning, you're listening to the Today programme the morning after. Half the world's population were obliterated in a retaliatory nuclear attack between the UK and Russia that many are saying, aren't they, was caused by a prank call from within number 10, made by the Deputy Prime Minister herself. And the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, joins me now. Mr Starmer, if this is true, surely she cannot remain in her post.
Well, look, Nick, I just want to say that my thoughts and feelings are entirely with the friends and families and loved ones of the 4 billion people who lost their lives yesterday. 4 billion. Now, I've spoken to Anne. She says she doesn't remember a thing. But I've given her a can of Monster. I'm hoping that may lead to some answers. She's obviously going to build council homes, but Labour are going to build a whole load of other things too. So if you don't get a tower block built opposite where you live, you will now get an onshore wind farm or a nuclear power station. They're going to relax the rules they've announced this morning on building nuclear power stations across England, and the minister responsible for delivering those is Ed Miliband. Now, yeah, I don't think it's going to go quite as well for him as it is for Angela Rayner, mainly because he hasn't got any less weird since he was running the Labour Party. Well, look, London, you know, I don't know what happens, whether he's just like rebooting and buffering, charging at times like that. Can't see him being as robust with people as Angela Rayner will be. Well, look, the reality is we've got to build in the national interest. And the guy over here saying, oh, you know, I don't want to live near a nuclear power station. Well, tough luck, mate. I built one in your garden. Welcome to Chernobyl, bitch. But obviously, the main area of concern is how on earth is this Labour Prime Minister going to work with the populist Republican President Donald Trump? And just the way Donald Trump does politics. I mean, even the other morning when he's talking about that horrendous helicopter and plane crash. And it's just the way that he will pivot from one extreme to the other. He comes out, because I want to start by, and I hope you will join me, in a moment of reflection and silence to commemorate the people who died in that terrible plane crash. A moment later, he goes, they died because the Federal Aviation Authority employed dwarves. You can't have both. You can do one or the other. You can't do both. Because his comments about diversity, people rightly focused on race and gender. No one picked him up on the dwarf thing. I would love to have heard him Elaborate. What is his logic for why dwarves can't work?
You cannot have them. They're very sneaky little people. You can't trust them. And it's dangerous. It's so dangerous. They can't see over the desk to see the sonar, the radar, I think they call it. It would be so bad. And if there is a problem, their arms are too short. They can't reach the phone. It's very bad. And they are terrible, terrible people, as many of you will know. And they are everywhere. They're in Ireland. They're called leprechauns, and it's very bad. And they lie. They tell you there's a pot of gold at the rainbow. There never is. I can't even find the end of the rainbow. I've tried so many times, but they lie, and it's very sad. I mean, the way he talks about other people obviously is appalling, and it doesn't stop him being popular. And he has a standard insult formula, Trump, X plus Y, where X is the pejorative and Y is an animal or insect. Kamala Harris, she's mad as a bedbug.
You know, the difference between him now is, before he would just use that as a throwaway insult. Now that he's getting on a bit, he will engage with that as if it is a matter of material fact.
Kamala Harris, you cannot let her win this election, folks. It would be so bad for us. She is loopy as a moose, and you cannot let a moose run the United States. It would be so bad. They're terrible animals. They can cause a stampede. I once saw a moose eat a hedgehog. It was disgusting. We can't allow it.
It does make me wonder sometimes whether he understands the dictionary definition of the words he uses. He kept saying this about her.
She's a Marxist. She's a total Marxist, folks.
I mean, she's to the left of him, but Kamala Harris is not a Marxist. We have Marxists in Britain. She does not fulfill any of the criteria. She hasn't got a beard or an allotment, and she's not anti-Semitic. She's not a Marxist at all. But my God, the way he talked about it, obviously he cheated death himself just over a year ago. And watching him talk about it, I think we all thought, this is a major event. Maybe it will reveal some extra depth. Maybe this will just check his personality a bit. And I watched him talk about it, and he goes,
I'm going to tell you what happened, but I'll only tell this story once because it's very sad.
Bullshit, you survive an assassination. You're only going to tell it once. He goes,
I heard a whizzing sound go straight past my ear. I felt the pain. I touched my ear. I looked down. My hand is totally covered in blood, folks. There was so much blood. It was everywhere. They take me to the hospital. I get there. I say, look, I'm bleeding. My ears are bleeding. And the doctor said to me, ears bleed more than any other part of the body. You cut your ear, it'll bleed everywhere. So we learned stuff.
It's not sure it's what I would have learned from surviving an assassination attempt. Obviously, we worry about the political direction, not just of America, but their impact on the world, and whether we're now effectively ushering in a level of fascism. And this is what I really struggle with, is I think most of us think this guy is a fascist, but we also think he's a very funny man. Now, I've never felt that way about a fascist before. I've never felt tickled by members of the far right. And I just think it's incredible. I don't think any other fascist in history would have behaved like... No, certainly, if Hitler would have spoken like Trump, the Second World War would have been very different.
Well, the Sudetenland, it's a total shit heap, by the way. It's a total shithole. I might invade it. I probably will. But we're going to do it, folks. We're going to win. You're going to get tired of winning. We're going to win so much. And I think we're going to win. You cannot let the people trying to stop us win. Losers like Winston Churchill. What a loser. He's full of bullshit. You can't let him win. That guy, he's crazy as a hamster, and you cannot let a hamster win this war. It was so bad. He lives in a little plastic house inside a cage. It's pathetic. I once sat next to him at a conference. He had a bottle of water, drank it right above his head. He's totally lost it. He's gone down the tubes. But I think we're going to win. And a friend of mine, he said, if we don't win, they'll come for you. I said, I think we're going to win. He said, if we lose and they come for you, would you ever consider blowing your own brains out? I said, no way. Because if I miss and hit my ear, there'll be blood everywhere.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been a surreal but wonderful experience. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'm Matt Forde. Thank you very much. Good night.